The funny story of fisherman Dave and his neighbor, beekeeper Bert. Sometimes, the best creations come from unexpected combinations, and that collaboration, even in the most unusual circumstances, could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Just listen this funny and cautionary tale. Once upon a time in the quaint village of Bumblebrook, there were two neighbors, Dave, a jovial fisherman with a knack for storytelling, and Bert, an eccentric beekeeper whose bees were as lively as his personality. Their homes were situated side by side, separated only by a weathered fence that had seen better days. Dave's house was adorned with fishing nets, and he had a collection of the oddest trophies from his escapades, one of which was a pair of shoes he claimed belonged to a legendary catfish. Bert's house, on the other hand, was surrounded by beehives that looked like they'd been designed by a particularly imaginative child with a penchant for whimsical architecture. One day, Dave decided he was in the mood for an elaborate fish fry and started preparing his famed fisherman's surprise, a dish so mysterious that even Dave wasn't quite sure what went into it. As he was mixing a dubious concoction of ingredients, he accidentally spilled some of his secret sauce over the fence, which landed right in one of Bert's beehives. Bert was just in the middle of a very serious conversation with his bees about the merits of different types of flowers when the unexpected intruder arrived. His bees, ever the connoisseurs of new scents, buzzed excitedly around the strange-smelling substance. "Oh no, that's not good!" Bert exclaimed, realizing the bees were likely to get quite riled up. The next thing Bert knew, his bees had transformed into a veritable swarm of unintentional chefs, busily adding a touch of honey to Dave's secret sauce. Meanwhile, Dave had decided to add some freshly caught fish to his recipe, completely oblivious to the growing drama next door. The bees, now tasting their newfound concoction, were thrilled. They had never experienced a flavor quite like this before. They danced around Bert, who had to admit that the bees were quite enamored with the unexpected fusion of flavors. His once ordinary honey was now the talk of the hive. When the day of the big fish fry arrived, Dave invited Bert over to join the feast. Bert, intrigued by the smell wafting from Dave's house, accepted the invitation. As Bert took his seat, he couldn't help but notice the subtle hint of honey in the dish. "This is incredible," he said, his eyes wide with delight. "Where did you get this honey?" Dave grinned. "It's part of my secret recipe. You wouldn't believe it, but I think I've stumbled upon a new culinary sensation." Bert's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Funny you should say that, Dave. I have a feeling your secret might have had a little help from my bees." Dave looked puzzled. "Bees? What do you mean?" Bert explained the whole story, and Dave burst into laughter. "Well, that explains the mysterious kick in my sauce," he said, shaking his head. "It seems we've unwittingly collaborated on a gastronomic masterpiece." From that day on, the two neighbors became the best of friends, combining their unique talents in unexpected ways. Dave and Bert started hosting joint events where they'd cook up dishes that blended fish and honey in ways that no one had ever imagined. They became famous in Bumblebrook for their Buzzin' Fish Fest, where the local townsfolk would gather to sample their quirky creations. One year, the local food critic, known for her discerning palate, came to visit. She was skeptical at first but was soon won over by the creme brulee salmon and honey-glazed tuna tartare. She declared it the most inventive cuisine she'd ever tasted, dubbing Dave and Bert the duo of delicious discord. As they continued their culinary adventures, Dave and Bert realized that their newfound friendship had taught them something profound. The fisherman and the beekeeper of Bumblebrook lived happily ever after, their peculiar partnership a testament to the fact that the most surprising and delightful things often come from the most unexpected places. Their story became a favorite among the villagers, and their legacy of culinary innovation and camaraderie lived on, reminding everyone that in life, it's not just about the catch or the honey, but about the joy of sharing and creating something wonderful together.